Oh. Okay, so I've just opened the session that we've had the other day. From the recording thing, I'm going to close this window. I'm going to look at the mix bar. I see the tracks here. Right away, I see the hide. Okay, so something's hidden. And then I'm like, oh, heck. I'm looking at the track names, and they're very confusing for me. I can see the kick 1, kick 2 here, but I can't tell what any of these other things are. And I'm thinking to myself, next time I label tracks, I'll start with the most important letters, like kick 1, kick 2. So I'm going to go through and name them. Turn off input monitoring mode. Right. Sorry. Let me just turn off. We'll do that. Okay. So I'm going to go through now. I happen to know that this was the kick, right? So we'll call this kick 1. This was kick 2. And this was also kick 2, but we'll call kick 2B for the second take, right? This was snare 1. Snare. This is snare B, I guess, right? I'm going to call this snare 2, snare 2B, right? Because snare 2 was the under one, right? Then I've got overhead. I'm going to assume this was snare side. I'll be able to tell pretty quick. And this is overhead on the snare side. B.
Those overhead Bs are actually backwards. The toms are the overheads and the overheads are the toms.
Okay, I'll figure that out in a minute then. Okay. So you can see right away one of the first things is when you label the tracks, right, there's probably some improvements we could make there. Right? Mark did a good job of getting all the details in there, but it's not popping up in a way that I can really see actually what the instrument is, right? So maybe if you actually reversed it, you started with the instrument, then mic type, and then the set or something like that.
Or you can just add it on those.
Right. But it is good to have things labeled so that when you hand a session off to somebody, they're not totally lost. Okay, so this is overhead. I'm going to call this the ride overhead. I'll call this overhead. Overhead ride B. Okay. Tom. Hi.
Overhead.
Huh, thanks. What did it do? That's pretty cool. Oh, I see. It's no, don't. That's cool. Tom, hi. B. What's this one then? Tom Low. Tom Low B. And we're done there. We got some extra audio tracks, so I'm just going to grab those. Delete them. Now I'm going to kind of group these together so I have the first set together and the second set together, right?
Why do you have something completely different than what I can download from Dropbox?
I just downloaded this from Dropbox. Just around
I just did mine again too, and it's the same thing that I got before, which is different from this.
Then I'm not sure. We'll have to take a look. So kick 1, I'm going to call this kick 1B, and I'm going to drag all the kicks that were in the second set down here. I'm going to just put that there. So now I have the two sets kind of broken up, and I can see what's going on. Got it? I might as well go into, which I go, first or second set? Which you want?
Second.
Second set. Everyone want to do this one that everyone likes?
Yeah.
The one that everyone was freaking out about, right? Okay. Whatever it was he was doing there was pretty good. So I'll jump here. I'm going to hide all those. I'm going to hide 1, 2, there. Hit play. See if we can get to where we started. Is it coming out of that speaker?
Yes.
Okay. This one's probably a little too busy to use. So then I just want to get a little feel of what's going on. Well, I can tell you pretty quickly that for me, when I listen to the two kicks, this is the Shure Beta 52, and this is the RE20. I'm picking the Beta 52. I don't know if anyone else has to hear there. There's no bass, right? It sounds like a little click. It does not sound like a kick. So for me, the Beta 52 is by far the best kick drum like I've run across. I almost hardly have to do anything to it. Okay. Now I come over to the snare. This is the Onyx i5 snare. Pretty happy with that snare sound right there. It's got some punch to it, and it's clear both. Is the underside of the snare. Okay, so I might have a combination of those two. I can hear phase cancellation there. You might or may not be able to, but it's cutting out a lot of the low frequency. I'm going to show you how I'm going to deal with that in a second. Good. I'm going to listen to overheads. I hear a problem. Does anyone else hear the problem? I'm hearing the tom like crazy in that. You hear the ringing in the tom? Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm hearing tom in that one too. Oh dear. Now I go to the toms. I hear a lot of snare in that tom. Way more snare in that tom than I want to hear. I'm concerned that there's so much snare in that tom. I'm wondering if almost we didn't get the right pattern on that. Maybe had an Omni or something?
No, those are named backwards. The one that you hear a lot of tom that's supposed to be overhead is actually the toms. And
Thank you. Okay.
The one that's supposed to be tom is actually overhead. That's why that has a lot more air.
That's why we hear the toms so much in the overhead.
Yeah.
Thank you, River. Great. Okay, so we're going to call it, these are backwards. So tom, high, B, tom, low, B. I feel a lot better now. Overhead, snare, B, overhead, snare, overhead, ride, B. So the first thing I'm going to do now, there's my trademark, is I'm going to route these through the way that I always end up routing the drums. So I'm going to take these two overheads, I'm going to send them to a bus out right here by clicking on the outputs. I'm going to go to bus 1. It's going to make a bus right here. Yes. What just happened? Why is that not showing? What just happened? Now I'm confused. I sent these to a bus. It's not creating the bus. Oh. Does anyone here know how to use Logic? I obviously don't. You know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to... Can anyone help me? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Oh, it's input. There we go. Sorry. Here it is. Output. Bus. Yeah, now I can't put the input to the output. No input. Output. Bus. 1. Shows the bus right there. Aux 1. And then what I like to do is I use capital letters for my buses, although I'm used capital letter for the over there. So now when I hit play on this, my overheads are here. Just the overheads. Got it? Bring it down. Great. I do the same thing with the toms. I'm going to do the same thing with the snares. Any questions on this? Make sense to everybody? Toms. Snare. Oops. And then the kicks. I hate this this RE20 kick so much. I'm not even going to use it. So I'm not going to use that one. Then I'm going to route the kick, the overhead, the toms, and the snare. I'm going to route those all to another bus called drums.
You're about what to it?
I'm routing everything through drums.
Okay.
Okay? Let's see if I can make this a little higher so you guys can see it better. You don't need to see much of that. Actually, hang on. I can show. Here we go. 1 second. Okay, so we don't need group. We don't need automation. We don't need the EQ thumbnail. There we go. So that should make life easier to see there. Does that work? Can you guys all see that? So now, kick 1 is going to bus 4. Snares are going to bus 3, coming in here to snare, right? Bus 3. Overheads are going to the overhead, which is bus 4. Toms are going, I'm sorry, bus 1. Toms are coming to bus 2, and then they all go from their buses to bus 4, so all the drums are coming through here. Anyone have questions on that and couldn't do that? So if I mute this, we don't hear any drums, right? Oh, except for this stupid kick that I don't like. Let me get rid of that guy. Let me hide that. Mute, hide. Question?
Oh, you kind of just answered it.
All right. Now, one of the things I'm going to be most concerned with right away is phase. Phase is a tricky thing, right? Phase is when same sound wave arrives at 2 microphones at different times, and then you play it back together, and the sine wave or the wave is somehow out of phase. I can probably show it to you right here. If we look, it's usually going to be between the snare and the overheads. If we come in and look at, I'm sorry, let me change the order of these now. No, these are fine. If I come in and I look at the snare right here, I can put the cursor right there, and I can see that the main part of the waveform is going up right there, right? And if I scroll down to this one, what's it doing? Going down. Got that? So those are out of phase with each other, as they should be, because one snare is on the top and one is the bottom. And so when the sound wave goes like this, it's sucked air from that one and pushed air on the one on the bottom, right? Okay, so your mics are always going to be out of phase from the top and the bottom. Now, if I go and look at the overheads when that snare hit, right here, I can see that it's going down on that one and down on that one. So I've got 3 of them where it's kind of going down in that range, and one of them where it's going up in that range. So there's phase issues. There always will be. There has to be. Now, I used to spend a lot of time going like this and aligning these things, dragging them so that they would do this, and then turning that one exactly out of phase and getting so aligned. You might want to experiment with that, but this is what I found now as I'm getting old and lazy, is that I don't want to do that. So, because not only phase is a weird thing, it's also your friend. It's going to make the sound more full because our ears are always hearing things. You're hearing my voice come out of that wall, out of phase with it coming from my mouth, and it creates a sense of space and openness. If you get rid of all the phase problems, it's going to sound like a MIDI. You know how MIDI sounds? Those drums, they always sound cheesy, right? A lot of it is there's not that phase relationship stuff going on that creates a sense of space. Remember, our ears identify, echolocate by volume, timing, and phase relationships. Right? So we want to hear some of that. So here is a trick if you have problems hearing phase, or even if you do want to hear phase, if you can hear phase, but you're lazy and you want to move fast and not have to think about it too much. If you come into the stereo output, or I could go to the drum channel here, and I put an audio effect on, and it is a metering one called correlation meter right here. Correlation meter is a phase meter. And what I can do now is I can take my snare and pan it hard left and hard right, and I can solo just the snares. Of course, now I have to see actually where I am in my track. 1 second. Okay, good.
From what I learned, you always want to be on bus 1, right?
Right, so in this one, it always wants to be on the right. And you can see every time it actually hits the snare, it's going left. Remember, this was my top and bottom snare mics, and they were out of phase. We can see it's out of phase. Here's more confirmation. I can very clearly hear it's out of phase, right? Because it's as thin as so, I'm going to come here to snare 2, and I'm going to put in a utility called gain, mono, and I'm going to flip the phase on it. What that means is, when it says flip the phase, it says wherever it was going down, switch it so it's actually going up. Does that make sense? So the waveform it's going to look like on the region that it's going down, but when it plays it back, it's going to make it go up instead. Inverting the phase. Yes.
Where did you go for that? I missed it.
What's that?
Where did you go for that?
The right here, I went into utility gain mono. So watch what happens when I hit this phase. When he hits the snare, now you'll see a lot of stuff's kind of out of phase between the two, but you'll see right when he hits the snare, it should pop to the right now instead of to the left. So it's weird, the kick is actually in phase between the two. When he hits the kick, right, it's arriving at those two mics at the same time, but not when he hits the snare. So when I invert these, now the kick should be out of phase here, but the snare will be in phase. Let's see. Would you hear the difference? Can you hear that difference? Those are in phase now. Now, this is out of phase. I don't hear it as much here as I did when I turned it on. I'm back on. Boom! You hear there's like the note of the snares there, like 200 hertz. If you don't, trust the phase inverter. Or correlation meter, sorry. So I did that by panning them hard left and right. Now, my top and bottom snares are in sync with each other. I now just need to get them lined up with the overheads. How do I do that? Well, I can mute this one and I can just turn on the overhead. And watch when that snare hits. Which way is it going when the snare hits? Going left, right? We want it to go right. So I need to invert that one. So I can hold, option drag this gain right over there. I'm just watching when the snare hits. Seems like it's still moving to the left there. Why did we pick this one? There it is. The snare seems to be still moving to the left. It's actually moving to the right there. So I'm going to leave it not inverted. I know it did everything, right? Kick it. Seems to be weird. Sometimes it's moving left and sometimes it's moving right, isn't it? Very strange. Okay, then. The kick is definitely more in phase there, but the snare is what I'm worried about. I'd have to say that's a little weird that usually you can tell. Usually it'll kick one way or the other. I'm going to leave that phase on there just in case. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to now turn that one off. I'm looking here, and now I'm looking at this channel right here versus that snare. It's moving pretty good to the right whenever he hits it, but let me see if I put the gain on there. No, it's coming way back to the left every time the snare hits, right? So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put that one on there. Now I'm going to check these two against each other, just the overheads, and see what happens. Oh, dear. Pretty bad, isn't it? Do you guys remember the mic setup we had? This is the second setup. Oh, I can hear it right here when I move. It's really weird. The second setup we had with the mics, how did we have them set up?
We changed the U87s and we added
We took out U87s, we put in the PM184s, and how did we set them up?
XY.
X, Y. What does that mean about the phase of those two?
I think you have a lot of things.
They're right next to each other. The diaphragms are crossing each other, so that means there should be very little phase issues. So if I go flip one of them, what should happen?
It should go on one side.
The other one should be really out of phase, right? So these two are going to really want to be together in this case. So now I've got some decisions to try to make about trying to get these two to line with that snare. If I decided that I wanted to try to flip that one and not this one, right? It's getting a little awkward here again.
You have both snare channels panned left and right. Why? Because one mic's on top
Just
and one's on the bottom.
Right now I'm just doing phase correlation. So to do the correlation, what this correlation meter does is it looks at a stereo track. And it says it's left and right in phase with each other. So I'm putting that on the drums track, right here in the drum bus. And then I'm panning the snare hard right. And then whatever I'm comparing against it, hard left. So when he hits that snare, this should move and say, you're good. Your phase is good. This is not moving left, it's saying good. This is good phase, this is bad phase. So if I had them both panned down the middle, then there's no difference between left and right, right? Does anyone else need more explanation on this?
Like, does it matter like where you when you pan it, like which one is the left, which one is the
No,
right?
it doesn't.
So as long as they're like opposite.
As long as it's opposite. Okay. It's kind of confusing. This is upright. You can actually do this vertical too. I can say more in phase, less in phase, right? So I can't have one of these overheads flipped and the other one not. There it is. Now when I turn that gain up, now there's very much a phase. Very happy, right? Saying left and right are really good. That's the reason we did the overheads like that, so that we didn't have to worry about phase between them. But now can we get to work with that snare? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip both these to the right now. And I'm going to turn the snare back on them to the left and see what we do. And now I'm going to try to flip both these and see if it does anything. It's not making a huge difference. But I'm going to flip them because it seems to be a little more green when I have them flipped. This is up here higher when I flip the phase and the overheads. Seems a little bit better than when I didn't have it flipped. I don't know. I'm not real happy with that one. But I think it's as good as we can do. Now I can try bringing back in this other snare. And I can try panning these left and right. And that's about what we're going to get for a snare. Now, because I was having so much problem with that, I might. Well, that's because it's mono, right? So if I run things down the middle, if I pan down the middle, it's going to be very green because left and right are exactly the same. They're totally in phase. You don't have stereo if everything. The only way you can have stereo is if things are out of phase.
Doesn't matter where you put the correlation tool.
Yeah, you have to put it at the end, right? So I put it on this drum thing. I could have put it on my stereo out too, but it has to be after I've sent all those instruments. So I'm putting correlation meter on my end bus, and I'm routing one thing to left and one thing to right and comparing it. And then flipping one and see if it changes. Now this, I'm unhappy enough with this one. I might consider, I'm not going to for this class, I might consider coming in and slightly nudging some of this to try to get it to line up just a little bit better. You know, I might do something like this and pull these overheads like there. And now I can look at this and I can say, hey, down, 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 up. I could probably just flip the phase on that snare there and be good. Which is basically what I've done. I flipped the phase on the other three, didn't I? So if I go back now, I could turn these off. It might be easier for me to just flip the phase on that one. There. I might have improved the sound slightly by the end. Questions on that? It's really important stuff I discovered.
So we get that correlation meter open again?
I just went here, went to the plugins right here, and it's under meters. Metering. Metering. Correlation. Other questions?
Got a question.
Yeah.
We shouldn't phase cancel everything, right? Or this is going to sound flat.
Well, that's why I didn't come in and do what I just did here. It's going to thin out the sound a little bit now. But it's going to make the hit sound a little better. So it's hard to tell if that's better or not. It's hard to tell if that's better. Sounds okay. Leave it. So I flipped the top mic, and then I moved the overheads over so it's lined up with it a little bit better.
This is just for the snares right now. What about like the toms?
Okay, so same process with the toms. So I'll go through it real quick here. First, you got to know what track the toms are actually on. Thank you, River. We got that done. And you also have to find a place where he's playing the toms, which is usually the hardest part, because they're not played all the time, right? Did he play the toms at all on this one? I'm looking. Oh, there we go, right there. There we are. So then what I'll usually do is come and Oh, I can see he's got more here. Okay, so then you get the thrill of the tom. Wait for it. Again. Right? Okay, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pan that tom hard left. I'm going to pan my overheads hard right. And I'm going to see if I can get that tom to line up with those overheads through the correlation meter. That snare is really loud in the overheads. It's looking pretty good. It's going, when the toms are hitting, it's staying up there. If I flip that tom, I can see here. There it goes, way out of phase. You see that? Okay. So I'm going to stick with that on that tom, and then he was playing the lower tom too there, right? Now you see when he hits the low tom, it's going way down here. See that? So this one I might flip. Let's see. There it is. Saying high when he hits that second tom. My toms are in phase with my overheads. How are we doing? Different kind of class now, right? We're actually going to start learning stuff. It's a pretty good sound of toms right there, but that's like really happy with the tom sound. Not quite as happy with the snare sound, but really good with my tom sound. I can turn my toms down right here. Okay. Now I'm going to listen to my snare sound and see what we got going there. But not when he's on the toms. Yeah, not real happy with the snare sound. Sounds like it's out of phase to me for some reason. But so much I'm going to double check. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that snare sound. I think the snare on the first take sounded better when I listened to that. That's okay, that's what we can do. So now I'm going to work on the kick and snare. Ah, there's a kick, right? All that low frequency information. It's amazing how little low frequency information is in the snare. The snare rolls off at about 300 hertz. There's nothing below that. Right? The kick is our bass part. That's how the kick sound, really. The only thing I usually end up doing with the kick, the Beta 52 is I usually will add a little bit of that. What is the one called? The Exciter. You can listen to this, you'll hear it come out. Might be a little bit much there, right? You can hear it though, right? There's a little bit more click on the kick. It's funny, the high frequencies in the kicks are equally as important as the low frequency, even though it's a low frequency. So I'm going to kind of find my level there. I'm gonna listen to these two snare mics and see which one I want. Ooh, funny how different they sound, right? I like that right there, kind of that bounce. A little bit of the snare in the low frequency, but a little bit of the thwack from the top one. Now, one of the things is I'm starting to mix the drums, I'm keeping an eye over here, and I want to be pretty close to 0. In fact, it'd be nice to keep it up at 3 decibels in my drum bus, right? Somewhere 0 to 3. Well, maybe 0. 0 is pretty good. So I'm actually right in the target range here. This means that the levels we recorded at were real good. Nice job, gentlemen, whoever set that up on that. All right. Now, overheads. I'm going to bring those in next. Can you hear how that filled out the snare? The snare's got a little boxier sound now. You want some of that, but not too much of that. So a lot of times what I'll put in a snare is a You can see there's a lot of snare information down here. A lot of times I'll put a little filter in. Not too much, not this. Starts to sound like MIDI, right? Little muddy there. Maybe somewhere around there I might soften up this so it's not quite as steep, right? Somewhere in their range. I end up doing that quite a bit. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some reverb. And I will usually put the reverb on the snare, so I'm going to do a send right here. You see these sends, right? Done that. Bus 5. It'll pop up here. I'll call it Bird.
Why is there?
I'll show you. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to put a reverb. So when you put reverb on instruments, generally you want shorter reverbs for shorter instruments, shorter envelopes, longer reverbs for longer envelopes. Drums are about as short as the envelope can possibly get, right? So we want a short reverb. I usually find somewhere between 0.7 hundredths of a second to 1 second. So 700 milliseconds to 1 second is about right for drums, unless you're going for some special effect. And that'll usually be like under medium spaces. Maybe you could pick like a plate that looks a little long. We'll go. They probably have some drum plate, 0.7 milliseconds. There we go. Might be a little short, right? Sounds a little condensed, so I can. One of the things I can do is just increase the size right here. Maybe 200 is too much there. So you see when I increase the size, the length increases. I'm actually real crazy about that. Let's try another play here. Actually, I like that one a little better. It's a little brighter sound, right? Somewhere, 700 milliseconds. That's exactly what that is right there. This works pretty well. And I usually end up finding that the level is usually lower than like 10 or 11. Sometimes my reverb level is all the way down to like negative 19 in the situation. So. Now, I can put some on the kick, but it's not. What happens is the low frequencies get too. You hear all that doom, doom, doom down there? It gets a little muddy down there. And so the tendency now is to not put much reverb on the most of the time it's on the snare. What I find is if I put a little bit on the snare, or better yet, just put it on the overheads, it picks up just enough of the kick. You hear the reverb on the kick there? Not too much though. So I pull that down. I might bring the snare reverb down a little bit. And I'm basically putting a reverb on the drums. Kind of find that balance there. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to find the exact right reverb sound right now, or the exact right drum sound, until I start adding other instruments. This is about as far as I would get before I said, time to add something in there. How we doing? I can see drums are going to take a couple classes to get through. Because I didn't even get to compression and gating and all that stuff. Yeah, which we're going to need to get to. So, what's that? It went by faster than I thought it would. Yeah. Yes.
So you know how you're using the correlation meter? Do you know if Ableton has any equivalent to that?
It doesn't.
I don't know.
Probably next one.
Maybe, or maybe there's a free one online somewhere.
Yeah. You can go look at the waveforms, right?
The old fashioned one.
Like correlation
Which one
meter.
you
Yeah.
The correlation meter.
Oh, I have one.
Yeah.
Maxwell.
Yeah. Okay. So Maxwell. Alright. Cool.
Yeah. It saves so much time. I mean, I've sat and listened before. I've looked at those waveforms before, and it's like if you do that correlation meter, you're like, man, you're moving through this quick. So I'm not going to get into compression and gating. Well, you want me to go hard for another 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Sure. You're,
Okay.
you're recording this anyways, right?
Yeah, I'm recording this.
Okay.
A nomiometer is also like
Sorry, I can't hear you.
a nomiometer is also for like phase, right?
I don't even know what a nomiometer is.
I guess
So that's
it's
the same conversation.
Sounds like something that comes from Santa Claus brings.
the
North Pole. Nomiometer.
So I have one more question.
Yes.
So when you're reversing the phase with the utility there,
Yes.
Ableton has a utility plugin, but it has left and right phase reverse. Do you just use both of them?
You can invert the phase.
I'm not sure what you're saying,
Like,
but
so you know that just has one button to invert the phase, correct? It says 5.
well, if I had a stereo track, it would have one on left and right.
Okay, so would you do both of them or just one?
You well, the issue of phase comes in between left and right.
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 So you figure where the phase is, where the problem is, and then you.
So we're recording all our tracks in mono. So when you put a plugin in, there it should be a mono plugin, not a
Yeah, no,
stereo
it's,
plugin.
it's giving me stereo. Steven, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I
Here,
don't
can
know.
show you. But the thing is, what I'm understanding, what I would do because it's hard pan to the left, is I would just invert the left channel.
Well, nothing's going to be hard panned and left.
Right,
The
no,
only reason I'm
it's-
hard panning is so I can compare.
Right. No, I'm not.
The two
panning it,
tracks.
it
Oh,
automatically
you can-
comes in
oh,
like
I have
that. It
ten,
should be a mono track, and then it comes in.
Yeah.
using that.
See? The phase invert buttons and it says
Where is
left,
it?
right, swap,
I'm showing you
utility.
utility, right?
Yeah, but that's looking at a stereo track.
Yeah, but it says left and right? So I can select left and then just invert the left.
There's no mono button. Should I just hit that?
Yeah, I would hit mono. Yeah,
Alright.
for some reason that's on it. I'm not sure. I don't have an
Yeah,
answer for that.
exactly.
Okay. I don't have an answer. Okay, let me keep moving a little bit more. The most obvious place to use a gate. A gate. What a gate does is it has a threshold like a compressor, and instead of turning the volume down when something's over the threshold, it lets it through. So if something's louder than the threshold, you hear it, and when it goes quieter than the threshold, it turns the level off. So if you remember when I first was listening through this, we heard the ringing of the toms when he was playing the snare and the kick, right? We're going to try to get rid of that. Okay, so the toms aren't ringing the whole time, but when he hits the tom, we actually end up hearing it. And that's where I think we'll try to get today. Now, if I can remember where he played the toms, I think it was here. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
Okay, so I'm just going to come and solo the toms. So I'm listening just to the toms. In fact, I'm just going to solo the top tom. And right here, I can come in under dynamics. I can put in what is called the noise gate. There's this threshold, and as I raise it up, it will start to turn off. Ooh, I raised it up too high. Okay. As I raise it down, by the way, there's a default setting called percussion gate. That's what I always use. Here, turn it off. Is it staying open when the snare is hitting? I don't know. I can't quite tell because there's that snare, right? So I'm going to expand this out a little bit here. Give myself a little bit more. I want that gate to stay closed when he's hitting the snare. Nope, see it's opening in there in the snare. You're hearing the snare? So I'm going to raise the threshold up a little bit. Ideally, we don't hear the snare. Nope. The snare is too loud. The snare is too loud. So I'm having problems getting rid of that snare. You guys hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't. So I might have to deal with that. Alternatively, one of the things that we can do now is we can just go in and cut out, right? I do this very often with this problem. Go here, delete where the snare was. It's my own special gate, right? But let's pretend right now that we want to only use the gate because we're old school when you had to use tape. Another thing you can try to do right here is you can have a side chain on this, okay? And one of the things I can turn the monitor on the side chain, and I can try to see if I can identify just the frequencies of that low tom, the doo 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 or the doo doo sound. Right? So let me see if I can. So right here. And I can't because the snare is too much in the same range, right? It's all 200, 300 hertz, yeah. And there's too much snare in tom. So I can't really gate out the snare from this thing. And so I have to decide, if I want to leave it in there. Oh, what did I do? Oh, I just got it? Okay. it seems to be working with the filter. Okay, well there you go. Yeah.
Just works.
Got it? And the toms usually want to put the same reverb on the toms that you have in the snare, so we'll probably will add a little bit of bus 5 reverb here. Somewhere in that area. So that's a gate, and I would suggest that you put. So I would have a gate. In fact, I'm going to cheat and just copy that gate on over to the other tom right there. Okay, so both my toms have these gates on it. In some music, you can put a gate on the kick and snare. You can't do that with the way he plays because he plays all those little light notes in those things too, right? It really brings it out. So if you're gating out all his little pickups on the snare, you're killing a lot of what he's doing with the drummer. So it ends up sounding about like this. Not real crazy about that reverb, but there's other reverbs in there you can find. I would not spend a lot of time trying to find the perfect reverb until you go find your other instruments. The reverb sound that you're going to want is going to be really dependent on the reverbs that are in the other instruments as well. Okay, so find something like this, good enough. Now it's time to start putting some bass accompaniment in. This is where I want you guys to get for this weekend. Over. It's pretty cool. It's pretty good sound, right? Just to show you, I'll show you. I did this. This is one I did right here. I have to show you. I have to show you the other thing. Sorry. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Never heard these loops before in Logic. Right, so we can take and put those loops right in the song. But I have to show you something real quick so you can do this. Once you have found, and by the way, so what I want to show you on that is you hear there's reverb on those other instruments, so I got the reverb to match with the drums, so it kind of fit in. Right? But he's a good enough drummer, right? He was playing with the click track. And here it is with the loop, and it sounds good, right? And like, not everybody can do that. Okay, pay close attention to this. I would suggest using one of the overheads. I have these tracks right here. I'm going to right-click on it. I'm going to go to tempo, and I'm going to remove original recording tempo because the original recording tempo for those was 120. It's what we had it at when we hit record, probably, right? We didn't set a tempo. Now, if you remember right, he did 80, 100, 120, 140, right? So this should be 140. We kind of know that, fortunately. And he called it out. So you could go program in up here the right tempo if you wanted. But I wanted to show you guys, no, that's not the right button. Right here, I could go set this at 140. But one of the things you could do now is I can take this and I can right-click this and I can say tempo, and I can say apply region tempo to project tempo. And it will analyze that, align the downbeat, maintain relative position of all the regions, and then it should do that.
Oh, that's evil. Whoa. It does it for
It
you.
set it
I
for
did
you.
all-
So now,
I did all of them.
when you come in here
Damn.
and I click a loop, the time. Got it?
Could you show it again? At least to apply tempo remix.
Yes, I come here,
Are you still recording?
I remove, tempo, remove original recording tempo. Like I said, the overheads are probably the best. I right-click on the overhead and I say tempo, apply region tempo to project tempo. I check both those, I hit apply, and it will change those right there. 120 was what it was at on this one, right? So what I would probably do then is like, oh yeah, it was just 120. I would probably delete all these, right? And just be like, yeah, 120.
Apply region tempo to what?
Right-click.
To project tempo.
Tempo, apply region tempo to project tempo. So we know that was 120, because this one should be 140. I'm not sure why it's showing 93. Something's not quite right there. It didn't read it right. But that's a way, if you don't know what the tempo is, to look at it. If you remember on these, he announced at the beginning of each one the tempo, right? So you can find it. So before you start doing your loops, make sure you match your tempo. So I would like you to, pretty quickly, tomorrow, get these drums mixed about where I have. Probably should do just about everything I had. Add a bass and an accompaniment part. Make yourself 16 bars. I'm going to have a discussion. I want you to upload it to the discussion, and you guys start favoriting, liking, and making a decision as a group by Monday which idea we're going to have Justin riff over.
So the assignment that's actually due tonight is actually.
So I'm going to change the assignment that's due tonight. I'm going to make it due for. I'm going to have a discussion. I'm going to have the assignment due.
Okay.
The mix as well.
Yeah. So you're mixing the drums, but also I want you to go ahead and add a bass to the accompaniment part. Not two sessions. Yes. Sorry, we're figuring this out every week. So just ask me.
So
You don't have anything due tonight.
So nothing's due tonight.
Nothing's due tonight.
So that makes
But
me
by
just
Monday,
Yeah.
by Monday, when this class starts, you have a drum mix with bass and accompaniment for 17 bars.
17?
Yes. 616.
Okay.
Which is what he happened to play, so she's already
Not
there.
36.
16.
And as a group, you've picked 3 of them for Justo to riff over the top.
The lab is only open on Monday. It's not open on weekends.
No, unfortunately.
Okay, so
So yeah, which means getting in there tonight, tomorrow, Friday, and Monday morning.
Do we have to use all of them, or can we just like chop it? Chop it.
you can just pick one.
No, you just pick one of these.
Oh no,
Whichever one you want.
And just have that whole thing. Like, don't do any editing to the.
You can if you want to start editing the drums. Now here's the trick: is we start editing those drums, which I wouldn't suggest getting into because of time. You got 8 tracks you got to keep together, right? So when you click on one and you spike there, you want to keep it together. If you mess this one up, now something's out of phase or out of time, right? So you got to be real careful. You're not working with just a single stereo track anymore. You're working with real drums now. And there's advantages. You're like, oh, let me turn down that hi-hat. Great. But now you have to manage it.
Have we submitted the assignment? Do we just resubmit it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll get that updated tonight, tomorrow.
It's already open for